100 days of focusing on you. Doesn't that sound amazing? Maybe it sounds a bit scary actually. As you may have seen, I have just completed my 100 days of focusing on me. And it might have seemed like quite a long list, but there's already quite a few things on there that I was already doing consistently. And it's been a really interesting process for me. And I've shared some of the things that have come up for me. You know, my resistance to posting too many 100 days in a row for fear that people would think I was lying or just feeling a bit embarrassed about it. So that kind of really made me reflect and look a bit deeper about my relationship with success and what that means in terms of what other people might think of that. So just a bit of background really as to why I committed to doing the 100 days. As with many of you, you know, I am human, and I have been saying to myself for a little while now that I needed to spend a bit more time focusing on certain areas of my own self-care. And I've kept saying it and I haven't really done much about it, or I've started it and stopped it. You know, that typical cycle that is so easy to get stuck in. And I'm in a coaching group, and the guy in there, he's always saying, you know, you can spend as much time as you want focusing on your business or on your life, but if the sort of back end stuff isn't ticking along, if your self-care stuff isn't in a good place, if you're not in your best place physically, emotionally and psychologically, that's going to have a massive impact on all the other stuff. So it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So I signed up for the 100 days, and it was an interesting journey. It was by no means perfect. I had lots of resistance. The posting every day was at times a pain in the bum, and I kind of was storming a little bit and I didn't want to do it. And you know what, that's completely normal. And you know, the more I got into it, the more I started to realise that process was totally about me. It wasn't about anybody else. And I noticed that as I got probably to about day 30, day 40, it really started to let go of some of the thoughts about what other people might be thinking if they saw my posts or if they read some of my actions, some of the things that actually trigger self-sabotage in us. And I think by about day 50, you know, I had days where I wanted to lie. I'd had a really shitty day. I hadn't completed many of my actions, and my automatic was to go on and lie when I was filling in the boxes. But of course, you know, who are you kidding? You know, that doesn't help us in any way. So it's been a really valuable experience for me, and it's something that I'd like to bring into the group, but I'm going to sort of adapt it a little bit. That's going to kind of be more specifically tailored towards our eating patterns and our self-care patterns. So 100 days of focusing on you. How's it going to work? So it's going to be in a separate group. So we're going to set up a small community away from this group. So just the people that are going through the 100 days will be in there, and we'll be able to see each other's posts. It's going to be a closed group, so only people that are in there will be able to see comments that are being made in there. Now, this is not... So I just want to start by telling you what this isn't. This is not a diet. This is not an opportunity for you to do what you always do and start restricting, cutting loads of things out. I'm not going to tell you what you're going to put on your list of things to do. I'm going to offer you a guideline to work within. I very much want to work within the 4 pillars of self-care. So encouraging you to look at little actions that will cover off physical, emotional, psychological and spiritual self-care. And this isn't about sprinting from the start. This whole 100 days is about you starting to build trust with yourself and starting slowly. So we're kind of doing it a little bit different to what you normally probably do. What I want you to do is start to build trust in yourself. And what I mean by that is that you start to keep the promises that you are making yourself. And the way you do that is you do that by not stretching yourself. How many times have you committed to something, you've overstretched yourself, and it just isn't feasible, to whether that's a time thing, whether that's an overwhelm thing. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do something different, because you do the same thing over and over again, you're not going to get a different result. So we need to do things a little bit differently. So over the 100 days, it is about, one strain of the program is going to be about you setting some actions every day that you're going to commit to. And there is going to be a requirement that you come into the group every single day and you post how you have done. So it's going to work. You'll post the following day. So there's no worrying about having to do it late at night. So so for me with the 100 days, when I posted, if I was to post today, it was about how I got on yesterday. So you've done your day and then you'll be going into the group and just reflecting. And all you're going to be doing every single day is you'll fill out your log, which I will send you all a copy of that log to tailor to your own requirements, and you can either do that online. I like to print mine out and physically colour them in with blocks, because it's you really start to connect with those actions, and you start to see where there are things that you're doing consistently and what are the ones that you're missing out consistently. And for me, it was the exercise and my inner child work. Both were 30-minute commitments, which is quite a lot of time, but they were the two that dropped out the most regularly over those 100 days, that and water. So you can sort of really start to stand back and see really obviously which ones you're doing and which ones you aren't doing. And then it's about reflecting. So, the reality, how did your day go and what are the solutions to change that? So it is about setting these really small steps. And if you notice that you're not doing a number of them, then you're setting your steps too much. And this is what I mean about building trust. They may seem possible when you set them, but if you're not doing them, the chances are that you need to just pare them back a little bit, because if you consistently don't do things, that is going to start to touch your feeling like you're failing. It's going to be triggering all of those insecurities for you. And we all know what happens when that happens. We start to withdraw, we start to not show up for ourselves. And that is the magic. That is the bit. That is what this program is really about. This program is about you starting to really become aware of where your resistance is, where you're self-sabotaging. And that is the magic stuff, because, we all, whether your goal is you want to lose weight or you want to get fitter or whatever it is, in my experience, it's not about that. If we can start to actually focus on the real self-care stuff, and also understand why you self-sabotage, what the resistance is about. What I tend to find when I'm working with clients is when you start to focus on that stuff, the real stuff, your emotional eating and your food relationship just naturally starts to change. But what we tend to do is we tend to focus on the physical stuff, restricting food, exercising more. And you know what? That is how you lose weight. There is only one way to lose weight, and that is eat less and move more. But sometimes when we focus on that really overtly, that's when it can trigger lots and lots of the old insecurities around failure and it being hard and all of that stuff. And what I want to do is try and divert our attention to other things. I want us to really start to look at how we can build a really strong self-care plan for ourselves, learning to care and nourish ourselves in healthy ways. And that's not going to happen overnight, and it's probably not going to happen in its entirety over 100 days, but it is about, if you can start to be consistent, and being consistent isn't about being perfect, okay? Being consistent is about showing up for yourself irrespective of how your day has been. It's about being brave and being curious and kind of started to question and challenge, your desire to want to hide or to lie or to not show up. And I went through all of that in the 100 days, so I'm here to kind of guide and coach you through that as well. So that's the first strain of the program. So there is going to be a commitment for you, and I'm going to be guiding you through this over the 100 days. So it's going to be, I will do at the start of the program, I will set an activity where you're going to think about what it is you're going to commit to doing each day, and then we're going to review it and reflect on a regular basis. There is a requirement for you to show up every day. Now, I'm not going to police this, but I will be keeping an eye on it. And if there are people that are missing consistently, then I'll just be a gentle prod in there. This isn't about shaming anybody. This is about, supporting you through this process and helping you to work through whatever's coming up for you. So that's like the first strain. So the first strain is about you showing up for yourself for 100 days with all these little exercise activities, and you can review them and update them and change them as you go through the 100 days. The next part, I want to do some training with you. I want to help you to explore and understand your relationship with food in a way that's kind of not too deep, that's quite fun, that's going to just get you starting to think a little bit differently. And I'm kind of choosing a few topics to maybe cover off over the 100 days. The first month, I thought we'd start to look at your relationship with food and where it starts and what might be going on for you. And then I thought in February we could maybe start to explore emotional needs or something like that. And then in March, maybe start to look at finding our voice and speaking up a little bit, because they are three really important elements of what is going on behind our emotional eating. But I don't want to be dictating to you guys in this group. So what I'd really like to do is for us to get together. Once we launch, what you might find is other things are coming up for you, and I want to be able to work with the group and deliver the training that's needed. But that's how I see the 100 days working. You're going to have this consistent 100 days of showing up and posting and monitoring these little actions every single day. So you're going to review, you're going to write about the reality, and you're also going to start thinking about solutions. So you're starting to focus on this stuff as it's happening. Okay, and we'll tackle the self-sabotage and the resistance and all of that as we go through the 100 days. And then there's going to be some training alongside of that throughout the 100 days. So the program, 100 days, it's £95. That's for the whole 100 days. And like I say, it's going to be running a closed Facebook group. So only the people that are committed to coming onto the program will be in there. Anyone who's worked with me before, you know how I work. I like to give a lot. I like to share my experience. I like to share my knowledge. If we feel that we want to have some Zoom calls, then that will be an option as well. Maybe once a month we can jump on a call. I'll maybe do a Q&A session, whatever works for you guys, really. I'd really like to see it evolving as we go through the 100 days. And, this is something that can be rolling. I'm having a couple of weeks break over Christmas, and then I'm going to be starting my 100 days again, because it's given me such a focus, not just about moving me towards where I want to be, but I feel really proud, being consistent, but also what it's done for me is it's made me question my own bullshit. It's made me really sit back and think about, this part of me that wanted to lie at times because I felt a bit embarrassed, or this part of me that kind of didn't want to post my 100 days because I felt that people wouldn't believe it, or they'd think I was being a bit cocky. All of that stuff that's going on underneath it all that often we don't talk about, but it needs to be talked about. It needs to be brought out into the open so you can start to question it and challenge it. So any questions, please email me, please inbox me. I'm going to put a link for to sign up and make your payment, and it's going to start on the 3rd, which is a Sunday the 3rd of January, and I am starting it then, because often what I do is I do it later in the month. There is no reason why we can't start this on the 3rd of January, because this isn't about changing all what you're eating, because that is not what this is about. This is about those small steps. So it's going to start, officially launch on Sunday the 3rd, but I'm going to open the group on Saturday the 2nd, and there'll be a video in there that's going to give you instructions to get you thinking about what you need to do before we get cracking on the Sunday. So any questions, let me know. If not, click on that link, sign yourself up, then relax, enjoy your Christmas, enjoy New Year, knowing that you've made this commitment to yourself in January.